Most parents have been told that toddler sleep is just a phase, that some kids are sleepers and some kids aren't, that the night wakings, the bedtime resistance, the 4 a.m. tossing and turning, the inability to settle down even when everything in the routine is perfect, that all of this is just part of the toddler years and you're supposed to ride it out until they grow out of it. When that ride starts to wear you down to nothing, the standard advice you'll hear from almost everyone is the same. Try melatonin. A small dose, a gummy at bedtime, only for a few weeks. So you try it. Sometimes it works for a few nights, other nights it doesn't. After a couple of weeks, it might stop working entirely and you're back to staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning while your toddler is wide awake in the next room. That's where my family was. That's where I started looking for something different. What I found, hidden in pediatric sleep research and the traditional practices of cultures that somehow raised generations of children who slept through the night without anyone reaching for a bottle of supplements, was that melatonin is not the answer most modern parents have been told it is. It's a single hormone. It does one specific job. When toddler sleep is broken, the reason it's broken is almost never a melatonin deficiency. It's something deeper. Something that has to do with the entire chemistry of the developing brain and the way certain foods, eaten at the right time of day, quietly support the natural mechanisms that have helped human children fall asleep for thousands of years. Today I'm walking you through the exact 6 foods that fixed my toddler's sleep when melatonin had completely stopped working. Foods that go deeper than the surface level. Foods that traditional cultures have been feeding to children for generations. Foods that modern science is now confirming actually work. Hit that subscribe button right now, because every week on this channel I post videos that put real food-first solutions back into the hands of modern parents. The kind of wisdom the supplement industry hopes you'll forget. Stick around because number 4 on this list is a food most parents are already feeding their toddler at breakfast, but have no idea is one of the most powerful sleep-supporting foods on earth when served at the right time. Number 1 is something you've probably never thought of as a sleep food, but it contains a single amino acid that ancient cultures relied on for deep, restorative sleep long before melatonin was ever isolated in a lab. 6 foods, the most powerful sleep-fixing rotation I've ever found. Let's get into it. Number 6, bananas. The starting point for almost every parent who wants to fix toddler sleep through food. Bananas are one of the most universally tolerated, easiest to introduce foods in toddler nutrition, and they're also one of the quiet workhorses of natural sleep support. They have been used as a calming bedtime food in cultures from Southeast Asia to Latin America to the Caribbean for as long as people have been mashing soft fruit for small children. The reason traditional cultures kept reaching for them, even before anyone could explain the chemistry, is that something about bananas at the end of the day seemed to settle children down in a way few other simple foods could match. Modern science has now identified exactly what was happening. Bananas are one of the best dietary sources of magnesium, a mineral that has been studied extensively for its role in calming the nervous system and supporting healthy sleep. Multiple studies have linked low magnesium intake to restless sleep, frequent night wakings, and difficulty falling asleep in both children and adults. Most toddlers in modern households simply aren't getting enough magnesium from their daily diet. And the result is a nervous system that struggles to settle down at night, even when the bedtime routine looks perfect on paper. Bananas also contain tryptophan, the amino acid the body uses to produce serotonin and, eventually, melatonin. Most people miss this, but tryptophan from food doesn't reliably convert to melatonin on its own. It needs the right combination of supporting nutrients to actually do its job. Bananas naturally provide some of those supporting nutrients. Vitamin B6 in particular, which is critical for the conversion process. Here's the practical magic of bananas at bedtime. They're soft, they're sweet, they're filling without being heavy, and they're one of the few foods almost every toddler will eat without resistance. Mashed banana served 30 to 45 minutes before bedtime, either on its own or stirred into a small amount of plain yogurt or oatmeal, gives the body the raw materials it needs to start winding down naturally. It's not a magic bullet. It's the easiest, gentlest, most accessible first step on this list. And for many parents, just this one change makes a noticeable difference within the first week. Number 5. Plain whole milk yogurt. the traditional bedtime food that most modern parents have forgotten how to use. Across rural Greece, parts of India, the Balkans, and the Caucasus, mothers and grandmothers have been giving toddlers a small bowl of warm or room temperature plain yogurt before bed for centuries. Not as a snack, as a sleep food. The children who grew up on this practice were, by the consistent observation of those cultures, calmer at night and slept more deeply. Modern research has now started to explain why. Plain whole milk yogurt contains a specific combination of nutrients that work together to support sleep in ways that most modern bedtime snacks simply don't. It delivers calcium, which the brain uses to convert tryptophan into melatonin. It delivers tryptophan itself from the milk proteins. It contains casein, a slow-digesting protein that releases amino acids gradually over several hours, which means a toddler isn't getting a quick energy spike at bedtime, but a slow, steady release of sleep-supporting nutrients throughout the night. Here's what makes this remarkable. Plain whole milk yogurt also supports the gut-brain axis, the two-way communication system between the digestive system and the brain, that modern researchers now understand plays a huge role in mood, sleep, and emotional regulation. The beneficial bacteria in plain yogurt help produce neurotransmitters, including a significant percentage of the body's own serotonin, that directly affect how easily a child can transition into deep sleep. Most parents walk right past this, but the form matters enormously. The flavored, sweetened yogurts marketed to toddlers in modern grocery stores are loaded with added sugar that does the opposite of what you want before bed. Sugar spikes blood sugar, which produces a rebound crash hours later, exactly when you don't want your toddler waking up. Plain, unsweetened, full-fat yogurt, sweetened at home with a small amount of fresh fruit or a touch of honey for toddlers over 12 months, is the form that traditional cultures relied on. Served in a small bowl about an hour before bedtime, it's one of the most reliable, most ancient, most quietly powerful sleep foods for small children. Number 4. Oats. The breakfast food that's actually a hidden sleep food when served at the right time of day. Most parents serve oatmeal as a breakfast food. Warm, filling, comforting in the morning. Then they don't think about oats again until the next breakfast. Here's something most people walk right past. Oats are one of the most powerful natural sleep-supporting foods in the entire human diet. And the reason almost nobody knows this is because we've been serving them at the wrong time of day. Across rural Scotland, Ireland, and parts of Northern Europe, a small bowl of warm oat porridge served in the early evening, an hour or two before bedtime, was a traditional way to settle children for the night. The science behind it is remarkable. Oats are unique in that they deliver 3 sleep-supporting compounds together in a single food. First, they contain melatonin itself. Yes, the actual hormone, in small amounts, naturally occurring in the oat plant. Most people have no idea oats contain melatonin, but they do, and the levels increase when oats are cooked. Second, oats are an excellent source of magnesium, the same calming mineral that bananas deliver. Third, oats contain complex carbohydrates that promote a small, gentle release of insulin, which has a specific role in helping tryptophan cross the blood-brain barrier and become serotonin in the brain. That last mechanism is one of the most important and most overlooked principles of natural sleep support. Tryptophan only works when the body's chemistry helps it move where it needs to go. Oats are one of the few foods that quietly creates exactly the right conditions for that to happen. Here's the practical magic of oats served as an evening food. A small bowl of warm, gently sweetened oatmeal. Maybe with a little mashed banana stirred in. Maybe with a small drizzle of honey for toddlers over 12 months. Served as a snack about an hour before bedtime, becomes one of the most complete natural sleep meals a toddler can have. It's not magic, it's chemistry. It's chemistry that traditional households used quietly for centuries, without ever needing a single sleep supplement. Before we get to the heavier hitters on this list, let me ask you something. Are you starting to see the pattern? Every food we've covered so far is doing more than one job. Magnesium and tryptophan, calcium and casein, carbohydrates and melatonin. The toddler nervous system doesn't fall asleep because one hormone is present. It falls asleep because the entire chemistry of the brain has the raw materials it needs to wind down. Melatonin alone can't do that. food eaten at the right time of day can. That's the philosophy this channel is built on. The idea that the food-first approach isn't just gentler than the supplement-first approach, it's actually more effective because it works with the body's natural systems instead of overriding them. If that resonates with you, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this video reach other parents who are exhausted, who have tried everything, and who deserve to know there's another way. If you're not subscribed to Forgotten Herbal yet, click that subscribe button and ring the bell. We post every week, and every video is built to put real, ancient, food-first wisdom back into modern hands. All right, let's keep going. Number 3. Tart cherries, the one fruit that's actually a natural source of melatonin. Tart cherries are the closest thing in the natural food world to a true sleep food. Multiple clinical studies in recent years have examined the effects of tart cherry juice on sleep, and the results have been consistent enough that even mainstream nutritional research now recommends tart cherries as a natural sleep aid for adults and in age-appropriate forms and amounts for children. Here's what makes them remarkable. Tart cherries, specifically the Montmorency variety of mutton, contain one of the highest naturally occurring concentrations of melatonin found in any food on Earth. They also contain tryptophan, anthocyanins, and a specific combination of compounds that work together to support both falling asleep and staying asleep through the night. The research is clear enough that hospitals in some countries have begun studying tart cherry juice as a complement to traditional sleep interventions in pediatric patients. Most people miss this, but the form matters. Sweet cherries, the kind most parents buy fresh in summer, contain much lower melatonin levels than tart cherries. The tart variety is the one with the actual sleep benefit, and they're available year-round in dried form, frozen, or as a small amount of unsweetened tart cherry juice mixed with water. For toddlers, the simplest way to introduce them is a small amount of unsweetened tart cherry juice, about an ounce, mixed with water, and served 30 to 45 minutes before bedtime. Alternatively, a few dried tart cherries stirred into evening yogurt or oatmeal. Here's the practical magic of tart cherries that modern households should never have lost. They're seasonal, they're traditional, and they were a staple of European bedtime cooking for generations. Italian and French grandmothers used cherry preparations for restless children long before anyone had isolated melatonin in a laboratory. They watched the results, generation after generation, and they passed the practice down. Modern science has finally caught up to say what those grandmothers already knew. Tart cherries are nature's bedtime fruit. Number 2. Ground pumpkin seeds, the tiny mineral powerhouse that quietly calms the toddler nervous system. Across the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and the ancient Americas, mothers passed down the practice of saving pumpkin seeds from harvest season, specifically to feed to children through the long winters. One of the consistent observations across all of those traditions was that children who ate pumpkin seeds regularly slept more deeply and woke less often at night. They didn't have laboratory analyses to tell them why. They just watched the children, and they kept the practice. Modern research has now identified the specific reasons it worked. Pumpkin seeds are one of the most concentrated dietary sources of magnesium in the entire human food supply. Magnesium isn't just a calming mineral. It's specifically required for the body to produce melatonin from tryptophan, for the nervous system to settle from sympathetic mode into parasympathetic mode, and for the muscles to actually relax instead of staying tense through the night. Pumpkin seeds also deliver zinc, which works synergistically with magnesium to support the production of GABA, the brain's main calming neurotransmitter. They contain tryptophan in higher amounts than most plant foods, alongside healthy fats that help the body absorb everything together. Here's what stops people in their tracks. Multiple traditional cultures arrived at the same observation independently, that pumpkin seeds calmed children and helped them sleep, long before anyone could measure a microgram of magnesium. They were not guessing. They were watching, and watching consistently across centuries and continents. The catch is that whole pumpkin seeds are a serious choking hazard for toddlers under 3, so they must be ground into a fine powder, blended into pumpkin seed butter, or stirred invisibly into yogurt, oatmeal, or a smoothie. A small spoonful served in the evening with one of the other foods on this list. A small portion of yogurt with ground pumpkin seeds stirred in, served an hour before bed, is one of the most powerful, most quiet, most ancient sleep tools available to a modern parent. Number 1. Bone broth. The forgotten sleep food that contains the most powerful sleep amino acid your toddler has probably never had. Here's the food modern parents have completely abandoned. Bone broth was, for thousands of years, one of the most universally used foods in human history. Almost every traditional culture made it. Almost every traditional culture fed it to children. The reason it was fed to children, especially in the evening, especially when they were unsettled or recovering or struggling to sleep, was that something about a small, warm cup of bone broth before bed seemed to quiet children in a way few other foods could. Modern science has finally identified what was happening. Bone broth is one of the richest dietary sources of glycine, a single amino acid that has been studied extensively for its role in deep, restorative sleep. Here's what makes this remarkable. Glycine works through a completely different mechanism than melatonin. Where melatonin tells the body it's time to sleep, glycine actually helps the body get into the deeper, more restorative stages of sleep. Multiple clinical studies have found that glycine taken before bed improves sleep quality, reduces nighttime wakings, lowers core body temperature in a way that supports deep sleep, and improves the overall depth of rest. Most importantly, for parents whose toddlers wake up multiple times per night, glycine has been linked specifically to fewer nighttime wakings and better sleep continuity. This is the reason melatonin sometimes fails. Melatonin can help a child fall asleep, but it doesn't help a child stay asleep. Glycine does the second job, and bone broth is the most accessible, traditional, gentle source of dietary glycine in existence. Here's the practical magic of bone broth at bedtime. A small warm cup, about half a cup or less, served 30 to 45 minutes before bed, gives a toddler's body exactly what it needs to settle into the deeper stages of sleep. It can be plain, lightly salted, or stirred into a small bowl of soft rice or noodles for picky eaters. It can be served daily or a few times a week. It can be store-bought from a high-quality brand or homemade from chicken or beef bones, simmered slowly for hours. Either way, this is the food traditional cultures relied on, the food modern science is now confirming, and the food that, in my own house, was the single biggest change that fixed my toddler's sleep when nothing else had worked. Multiple ancient cultures arrived at the same conclusion independently, that bone broth was a settling, strengthening, sleep-supporting food for small children, long before anyone could measure a milligram of glycine. They watched the children slept. Modern research has only confirmed what those kitchens already knew. This is the food modern parents forgot, and for any toddler whose sleep has resisted everything else, it may be the single most powerful thing on this list. 6 foods, one thread connecting all of them. None of these are trendy, none of them are expensive, and none of them are new. They're the same foods that quietly settled generations of small children into deep, restorative, all-night sleep, long before anyone had ever heard the word melatonin. Mashed banana, plain whole milk yogurt, warm oatmeal in the early evening, a small spoonful of tart cherries, ground pumpkin seeds stirred into something soft. The one almost everyone has forgotten, a small warm cup of bone broth, half an hour before bed, delivering the single most powerful sleep amino acid the body has access to. The sleep supplement industry will always push you toward a gummy, a tincture, a liquid, a chewable with a cartoon character on the front. Supplements are profitable and a slow-simmered pot of bone broth is not. The parents and grandparents who raised children to sleep through the night long before any of those products existed didn't have any of that. They had the kitchen, the seasons, and a quiet body of knowledge passed down through hands and stovetops. They weren't behind the times, they were paying attention. One important note before you go. Always check with your pediatrician before making significant changes to your toddler's diet, especially if your child has any allergies, sensitivities, or existing health concerns. Persistent sleep issues should always be evaluated by a healthcare professional to rule out underlying causes. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me which one you're trying first. Are you team yogurt and oats for the gentle traditional rotation? Team tart cherries for the natural melatonin boost? Or team bone broth for the boldest, most forgotten food-first move on the list? I read every comment. If you got something out of this video, hit the like button and subscribe to Forgotten Herbal, where ancient wisdom meets modern clarity, one forgotten food at a time. See you on the next one.